Hello, Desert Bearhawk fans. It is almost 1 in the morning on the 17th of July. It's a little cooler in the shop today. I think it's only about 85 in here. See? No, it's just under 90. But it feels cooler. Must be a humidity thing. So I haven't updated you guys in a couple of days. I thought I would do it tonight. You know, when you're out here by yourself thinking, hey, you gotta listen to the voices in your head, and one of the voices in my head keeps screaming landing lights at me. And so I'm this is rib 14. Let's see if you can see it there. I don't know if you can. 14R. This rib right here, the one that's bouncing back and forth, that's 14R. And I've stopped because 13, 12, and 11 is dead center at the splice. Right here. This is my right wing, so this is the wing that my pedostatic tube is going to go in. And everyone online that I've asked in the Bearhawk forum say put it in the first bay outboard of the strut attach fitting. So that would be right here. And as you can see, I've stopped right there. And the reason I've done that is I want my landing light out away from the fuselage, away from the root. But I don't know how far it needs to be out, and I know that I want to put my pedostatic tube in this area right here. So that means it's going to get real busy right here. It's going to have a landing light and a pedostatic tube. I don't want to put the landing light and the pedostatic tube in line with each other because I'm concerned about, you know, the landing light lens is not going to be perfectly smooth with the skin. I mean, I'm good, but I'm not that good. And I don't want to, I don't want any vortices or anything coming off of the landing light lens to affect the pedo probe, because not only is it a pedo probe, but it's an angle of attack pedo probe. So I'm assuming it's going to be a little more sensitive. So I need to think about what I'm going to do, decide on what landing light I'm going to go with. So I've stopped right here, and the reason I've stopped is because see how these ribs have a flange? There's a flange on this side, it's smooth on this side. Well, if I elect to put my landing light right here, what I'm going to do is take the left hand number 13 rib, which has the flange going the other direction, and I'm going to put it here, so I will have an open bay right here with no flanges to deal with. See, in this bay right here, I've got a flange on one side and I'm smooth on the other. So if I swap rib for rib, left for right, then I'll have a smooth edge on either side to work with to get that landing light in there, and gives me a little more room. You know, this is a 9/16 flange, so I'll pick up another 9/16 of an inch in case I have a clearance issue or whatever. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do there yet. But anyways, with all that being said, we have moved along. You can see I have the nose ribs starting to go into position, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. For the guys who are actually scratch building the airplane, there's some things I've learned that will be helpful. I've got my bell crank going down here with the pulleys, and you can see I have these larger washers here, and the reason I have those there is that if the pulley ever, or excuse me, if the bell crank bearings ever fail, I do not want this bell crank to be able to slip off past the end of the bolt. Let me see if I can get around to it. Over to the end of the bolt down there. I don't know if you can see it. I got a weird camera angle here. Yeah, you can see it. So they're basically a safety mechanism to, if I have the bearings fail, it'll at least hold this in this area. Yeah, flight controls are going to get real crappy, and I'm going to know there's a problem, but at least I won't die. That's the thought. So I got that all handled and in place. I ordered the hardware the other day from Spruce. It showed up yesterday and we're golden. I got my pulley for there's my pulley mount right there, but I haven't put it on. I've got all the center ribs calicoed in place now, drilled with the number 40. They're going to be upsized to a number 30. I've got the flap push rod in place. And by the way, the last time you saw a photo, I had the left hand flap push rod in on the right wing. There is a difference, and you can see it right here. You can see how this is notched away. That's because there's a cable that when this is sitting, imagine this sitting forward, but there's a cable that comes right in through here. And when this is actuated, if that notch was there, it would bind up on the cable. So I had the left and the right and the right and left. I'm glad I caught it before I started drilling because it would have been tragic. But got that handled. The false spars for the fuel tank, we got these 90s riveted in place, so there's going to be a false spar on top of them right in this area here that's going to form the bay that the fuel tank sits in. Right now it's just a picture window for a dog on the floor. Let's see what else. I got the control arms for the flaps themselves in position here, and they need to be drilled yet once I get everything at the proper angles. And that's another dog hacking up some bones that he'd just been chewing on. Dang old dog. So we made pretty good progress. So let's talk about these nose ribs real quick for guys that are building the airplane, scratch building it. In Eric's book, or whoever makes the book, I think it's Eric, he talks about using the string method. He runs a string from end to end through the tooling hole on the rib. And then he talks about using the false skin method, where you clamp a piece of skin on here and you run it up to there and you clamp it there and it kind of lines everything up. So I'm thinking, well, if I clamp it here and there with the false skin and I line it up, why do I need to do the string? And I thought about it a little longer. I said, you know what? I think it's a good idea to do the string anyway, and it turned out to be an excellent idea. So first of all, let's talk about how I got the string locked down. It's just a piece of scrap wood with a hole in it, and I kind of slewed it around, lined it up, and then I locked it onto my beam right here with a ledger board and one screw so now I've got some leverage between the screw and the clamp, and it just doesn't move. And then when I pull my string in and out, I just unclamp it with that documents clamp and slide it in and out, and I can pull it tight. Same arrangement on the other end. And then what that string does is it centers up in those holes. And it's serving more as a witness string to tell me that something's not right. And it worked, because I had a problem and I looked at the string, and the string was sitting right on the side of the hole there, touching. But the rib was flat on the beam here. So it was touching there. I'm like, oh man, what did I do? Did I grab the wrong rib? Did I misdrill it? I started to have a heart attack. Well, I didn't do any of those things. All my ribs are tagged. They've been tagged since they've been made. I thought maybe I transposed some tags, but I didn't. Here's what happened. For the guys building, this is going to make a lot of sense to you, but these cap strips right here are layered. And you'll notice on this side there's a single cap strip, 1/8 inch thick. On this side there's two cap strips, 1/8 and 1/8 or 1/4 inch. So the overall length of this rib, this one here, for example, has to be 1/4 of an inch shorter than the full-size ribs down here that have no cap strips sitting on it. So these are sitting flush on the spar web. They're full length. Then the ones that sit on the 1/8 cap strips have an 1/8 removed. And then the ones that sit on the double layer of 1/8 cap strips have a 1/4 inch removed. Well, the way the plans are laid out, these cap strips don't terminate in the same spot. And that's so you can distribute loads and you don't have a shear point. So the lower cap strip here, this one here, terminates right there. The upper cap strip terminates right in here. Different places. So when I got to this very first rib that I was doing, this is the one I had my problem with. When I got here, I'm on a 1/4 inch rise on the top and only an 1/8 inch rise on the bottom. Didn't even see it, didn't even realize it. So when I'm lining up the rib, I'm lining up on that end on the 1/4 inch, and I'm bringing this rib down to here, and it's not sitting square. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this rib? And then I look up at the witness string just before I drilled it and said, wait a minute, something's not right. What's going on? And it took me a second to figure out that I was going from a 1/4 inch rise to an 1/8 inch rise. And obviously I have to make the rib fit the larger distance, because have to cover the 1/4 inch. So once I realized what was going on, I grabbed a little piece of aluminum, 1/8 inch aluminum shim, made me a little tool, and I'm probably not going to even be able to get slide underneath there. It's so tight. But suffice to say that this 1/8 inch piece right here, I slid it into position, you know, like so, and then set the rib on it, and now I'm a 1/4 inch rise on both sides. My hole goes back to being perfectly centered again, and everything is good in Mudville. But I would have never really picked up on it if I didn't have that string in place to witness the fact that all of a sudden I'm all jinky with my alignment. So take the time and get this witness string in here and use it, because it's going to save your rear end. If I wouldn't have caught that, I would have misdrilled. Well, one rib for sure. I probably would, my spider senses would have been up on the second one, and I would have been like, what is going on? And I'm hoping I would have caught it here. But if I didn't catch it, I could have misdrilled this one, and this one. 3 ribs that I would have had to probably throw away and make over again, and that would make Dave a very unhappy camper. So the string is paid off. It also helps. You know, another thing I saw too is because all my ribs are made very precisely. So when I started with this rib, not only did I have some issue with this 1/8 inch rise that I wasn't covering, but I also, you know, once I got the shim in there, I still was kind of a little low, low on the string, and I'm like, what's going on? And that led me to look at this string right here and start looking to see if my spar was drooping, sagging, or if my jack screw leg had it pushed up too high. And indeed, I was low, and I had to put a turn in, and when I put a turn in, it moved that string up, and that string's right there perfectly centered now. So all of this stuff is paying off. You can see I got a plumb bob hanging here. I know that it's 2 7/8 from the inside of the string to the edge of the spar cap. So just every once in a while, just come by and throw my ruler down there and just take a measurement real quick. And if it's not 2 7/8, but 1 7/8, if I see that it's 1 7/8, I know that nothing's moved and I'm golden. All this stuff is paying off. Over here, I've got my laser transit. You can see that. Every once in a while, I'll turn the lights off and just shine it and make sure everything's level. But the string itself really saved my butt, and I highly recommend that you guys use it when you line your ribs up. I used a string on the bottom ribs, on the center ribs, to line up the trailing edges, and now the string is paid off again up here on these nose ribs. So I'm going to wave off for the night. I'm done. I need to sit and think about whether I want to put the number 13 rib from the left wing here, which will put the flange the opposite direction. I don't have a rib. You can see there's no rib to line up with. Here I can't flip it because I'm lining up my rivet lines. You don't want your rivet lines to look all jinky when you're putting it together. But on this rib, I don't have anything in this bay. There's nothing here. So I can flip that thing around and go the other way. And then I'll have ample room to fit a landing light in there and nice smooth edges to work with the mount. I'll probably drill out these stiffeners here and pick up these same, you know, I'll leave the stiffener in. There's a stiffener. But I'll reuse these holes to pick up on this side and put the mount between this rib and the other rib right there. So it should all work out. I need to think about it. There's no sense getting into a rush. I'm almost 500 days into this build, or 450 days. Getting in a rush to put in one nose rib tonight seems foolish. If I can't decide, you know, tomorrow, I'm probably just gonna skip this rib install and go right to this one and just keep pressing on down the line and get them all in there. And we'll see how it works out. Now, if any of you guys out there that are following this thread or video, either the YouTube channel or the Facebook channel, Facebook/Desert Bearhawk, if you guys have already built one and you're following this just because you are amused at my toil, or if you've built another airplane, or you're an operator, or you're an engineer, or you're just somebody with a good idea, if you have an idea about landing lights and how to approach it and what to do, I'm all ears. I'd love to hear suggestions on what you guys think. I know some Bearhawks have no landing lights. which is cool. But I am going to fly at night here in the Las Vegas Valley, and there is a lot of traffic around the airports, especially helicopter traffic, and I want wigwags on my wing because I do not want to be in the midair with anything. So I'm going to put lights in. I just don't know how or where or what I'm going to do. So it's just more stuff to figure out. But why I have the paralysis of analysis on that light, I will just press on and stuff I know that's root, and that's getting these ribs in. Once I get all these nose ribs in here, I will probably rivet the nose ribs down to number 14 in succession, from the root all the way to 14, one at a time, and get them just locked down and put to bed and out of my hair. And then 14 is going to be, or excuse me, 13 here is going to be the decider as to what I do before I can start locking any of them down, because I have to rivet them down in order. So I can get up to 14 and I'm going to have to stop. And I probably won't even go to 14. I'll probably leave 14 loose so I can get in and drill out some rivets if I have to. But I'll rivet down to 15. And then once I feel really froggy and I think that the structure is pretty much going to be the way it is, I'll probably go ahead and rivet these center rivets, or the center ribs in too, and get them locked down, because I need the calicos. I'm going to need them for the other wing half anyway. And quite honestly, I probably do 5 miles a day walking around this assembly, getting to this other side. And once there's another wing in here, I'm going to have to get on the ground and crawl underneath the spar to get in between the middle, and that's going to be it's going to wear me out. So I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible. I'm trying to get everything figured out on this wing so I can go to the other wing really, really quickly and easily. Another thing too, guys, when you're doing your spar builds, do not drill the holes where the aileron and the flap steel goes. Now I know Eric's book, or the builder's manuals, they talk about, don't drill, rib number 9, don't drill it. You got to line everything up. And this one, the torque tube is really super critical, because the torque tube has to work in concert with the mount down at the base. So I recommend you do not drill your hole at the root on the rear spar for this mount. What I did is I did not drill that hole. I did, however, no, actually I didn't. I did not drill any holes here. These holes were not drilled. Those holes were not drilled. Nothing was drilled. So what I did is I was able to dry fit everything together and then manipulate it around until my mechanism was working perfectly smooth and there was no binds. If you pre-drill these holes, then this piece is going to go wherever you drill the holes, whether it's right or not, and then you're going to have to start oblonging holes and shimming stuff up and tearing your hair out. Do not drill on the main spar and the rear spar the holes where the number 9 nose rib goes, in between the number 5 and number 6 center rib. Don't drill those holes. Measure them, mark them, Sharpie, that's cool. Don't drill them. And I did it, so I was groovy on this side. But over here on the aileron, I had my head up and locked, and I did drill those holes and those holes on my spars when I manufactured them. And I got to tell you, being precise saved my bacon, because these holes were perfect. I bolted this piece, I basically drilled them out to 3/16, and I was able to bolt this piece down perfect. Didn't have to do squat. I got dang lucky. I don't know if I'm going to get as lucky on my other wing. I'm hoping I do, but I got real lucky here, and I'd rather be good about it than lucky. So when you go and when you're fabbing up your spars, don't drill those 2 sets of holes in either one, and your life is going to be a lot better in the end. All right, that's it. That's kind of a long-winded update. Hopefully I didn't bore you to death. Next time you see it, you'll see all the nose ribs in. This is kind of a cool shot. You see all those nose ribs lined up right there. Woohoo! So we're getting there. A little at a time. All right, we're going to sign off, and we'll see you next time in the shop.